Hello, everybody. My name is Karim from Bromic. I take care of Bromic sales in Canada, both in English and French-speaking Canada. So thank you for taking the time today to join me. I'm going to talk a little bit about outdoor heat, both on a residential and commercial side, and the opportunities that it presents. So a little bit of history and background on Bromic. Bromic's a company that's been around for 40 years. They're a truly global company. They're based out of Australia. They have three different divisions, one for plumbing and gas, one for refrigeration, and the final one for heating. In North America, we don't do anything with refrigeration or the plumbing and gas. The focus is solely on the outdoor heat category. This shows you geographically where they're located. So Australia is the head office. The U.S. and California is where we have a North American headquarters. And then there's also a headquarters in Europe to service that market. So why Bromic? Bromic has been doing heat, as I mentioned, for 40 years. They really focus on a couple things. One is performance, but the second is design and aesthetics. And that's probably the single most important reason why people choose Bromic over other brands. A lot of other heat companies out there have heaters that may function. They don't perform as well as Bromic, but they certainly don't look as aesthetically pleasing. They tend to look like something very industrial that you'd find, be fine to put in a warehouse or in an apartment building, but not something you'd want to put certainly in a high-end residential home or in a nice restaurant where, they're trying to create a certain ambiance and look. So Bromic put a lot of emphasis on that. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. This is the new Eclipse series from Bromic that's won all kinds of awards from designers and architects. And this, believe it or not, is actually a heater and also a light. If I didn't tell you it was a heater and you went into a high-end lighting store or a patio furniture store, you would probably be hard-pressed to guess that actually provides heat, but it does. So they did a fantastic job. It comes in two different configurations. You can get it as a portable on the left, or you can get it and permanently install it to the ceiling on the right. So this is really what separates Bromic from all the competitors that you see out in the market, is the attention to design aesthetics that they've put into all their products. This is another great shot of a little, I refer to as a little dinghy, but I think it's anything but. Anyway, this shows some heaters. Again, you would be hard-pressed to guess those are heaters in the ceiling if I didn't point it out to you. These are recessed. Again, designers and architects and consumers love this because some people want to have a look that's very minimalist, very clean, very modern. That's the Eclipse series in white. We also make them in black. So they're recessed right into the ceiling. This is the Platinum series that also comes in black. This is a rooftop patio. Looks like it could be Montreal, actually, by the look of it. But these are heaters that are mounted on a pole. Again, they look beautiful, very modern, very clean look. This is the portable that Bromic offers, and it does a fantastic job. Most of us at some point or another have sat underneath those mushroom-style heaters that you can buy at any mass merchant. And if you've done that, you've experienced, just like I have, that they're not very efficient. You tend to be, you got to huddle underneath it to get any type of heat and warmth. If you're huddled underneath, your front might be warm, but your back would be cold. And if you venture beyond, 2-3 foot radius for the heater, you're not feeling much heat because essentially they're trying to heat the outdoors and heat air. Bromic's tungsten portable here that you see, one, again, back to the design aesthetic, they put a lot of effort into the way it looks. It actually is infrared, like all of Bromic's products. And we'll talk a little bit about infrared and why infrared is so much better for heating the outdoors. This particular unit will heat a 13 by 16 foot patio. So in comparison to 2 or 3 feet that you're going to get with a mushroom heater, this will cover a much larger area, which means you need less heaters. It's more efficient. It's definitely more aesthetically pleasing. And it's also very stable. Those mushroom heaters, you'd be hard-pressed to find one where the top isn't bent or twisted in some way, shape, or form, because at some point it's blown over because of the wind. These heaters are 140 pounds empty. You can take either propane or natural gas. If it's propane, you can put a 20 or even a 30-pound tank in there. So it'll hit 160 or 170 pounds. They are stable. And that curved design is not just to look pretty, it's actually to counterbalance the weight of the heater head on top relative to the base. You can also add weight in terms of water or sand in the base. There's a plug that you can access. So again, stable and perform incredibly well, 13 by 16 foot area, and they aesthetically look fantastic. So here's some other shots of applications of Bromic products. On the far right, you can see the Eclipse heater. Again, the ones that look like lights, but are actually heaters on a rooftop patio. The one below, we see the Platinum in white recessed into the ceiling. Again, very popular look. On the bottom left, you see the same Platinum heater, but instead of being recessed, it's mounted on a wall. Again, very, not minimalist, but does a great job of blending in with that wall in white. And then if somebody wants it in black and wants to actually have an accent in comparison, you can see the top right corner, they've got, they decided to go with a Platinum mounted in black to the ceiling. So lots of different configurations and options. This shows you some commercial applications because, again, Bromic is not only well-known in residential, but they're extremely well-known throughout the world in the commercial sector. So you can see these restaurants have spent a lot of effort and time on design, creating a certain look and ambiance. And the last thing they want to have is to have a heater that looks like a commercial box that would, be better suited to be in a warehouse. So on the top left, you can see they've chosen to go with the Eclipse heaters. On the bottom, they permanently mounted those Eclipse instead of the portables. They've done the a bistro cafe option, which we offer as one of the accessories poles. On the top right, they're using the tungsten gas heaters. And on the bottom, they're also using tungsten gas heaters. So lots of different applications. So why would you buy Bromic, or why would you sell Bromic to your customers? Well, number one, it's a one-stop shop. And what I mean by that is, like any industry, we've got competitors, good competitors. But what you find is our competitors, some of them will do electric, some of them will do gas, some of them will do portable. But none of them really cover the gamut from what I refer to as soup to nuts, which is basically offering gas, electric, and portable and options within each of those categories. So this actually shows you the series. So starting from the left, that Eclipse, the new design Eclipse electrical, both in portable and in permanent mount. Then the next one to the right is the Platinum series. It's got the glass front, available again at the top in the electric in either a black or white. In the bottom, you can get it in gas. And we also make a marine version of that as well. So if a customer is, on the east or west coast and salt air is a concern, we even have addressed a product line to help that, to solve that issue. The next two blocks are the tungsten, electric, and gas. Tungsten electric represents the majority of our sales. It's our biggest seller because electric gives you certain options in terms of adjusting the temperature. And price point wise, it does a nice job of balancing aesthetics and value and price. And we have that both in black and white in the electrical and also in the gas. And then finally, we have the portable tungsten as a gas unit. And then even for those customers who say, look, you know what? I don't really care about design. I'm more into price, but I really want something that's going to perform. Well, we have the Cobalt series. I'll be honest with you, we don't sell a lot of it because typically, as I mentioned, people don't come to Bromic for price points. They're coming to Bromic for design and performance. Having said that, the Cobalt series outperforms our competitors in comparable price points by giving, on average, about 20 to 25% more heat in a smaller footprint. But here we've kind of let go of the design aesthetic and just built a functional heater. So it looks more like industrial, if you want to think of it that way. Then we have controls that allow the customer to control the heat, and then different options in terms of poles and extensions to accommodate different installation scenarios. So here's, I talked about the marine. This is actually on the boat, another photo of two little dinghies where they've they've recessed the Platinum, in this case the white ones, into the ceiling to provide heat on a cool night. So let's talk a little bit about infrared and heating outdoors. First of all, when we're talking about heat, basically the heaters are designed to extend your season. All right. They're not designed, none of the heaters, whether it's us or our competitors, are not designed to be used if it's minus 20 outside. Okay. They're designed as seasonality extenders, and that's important to qualify your customer and get them to understand that. So it will, they're designed to work in sort of a ideally 10 to 15 degrees Celsius range. If you're going to go below that, then we need to know, and then we will spec more heaters, right? So it's important to qualify your customer and get as much information in terms of what their expectations are, so that we can make sure that we can help you to, address those and have a happy customer. So now, in terms of season, typically you're looking at extending the season by about 6 to 8 weeks, which is significant, especially in the Canadian colder market where we are. The summer is short enough. The fall is a beautiful time of year, and so is the spring. With COVID, people weren't able to travel for a few years, so a lot of people put a lot of money into their backyard. They put in outdoor kitchens, they put in swimming pools, gazebos, pergolas, all sorts of things. And in some cases, they spent $20, $50, $80, $100, $200,000. Sky's the limit. And yet, if somebody approached them and said, "Hey, we can help you enjoy that investment for an extra 6 to 8 weeks," it's a no-brainer. The problem is with outdoor heat, honestly, it's an afterthought. People, it's not top of mind. They don't think about it. So really, the key is to try and incorporate the discussion on heat at the beginning of the project, not when the budget's already spent, okay? So again, heat is a way to make you comfortable, allow you to enjoy the outdoors more. And it doesn't just have to be in spring and fall. I mean, sometimes in the evenings, in June and July, you'll have a cool evening. My wife and I will sit outside. Instead of sitting out there for 10 minutes, we'll sit out there for an hour or two. If you've got a gas fireplace or a wood fireplace like this, they're aesthetically pleasing, but they actually don't put out a lot of heat. So if you've got a fireplace, that gives you great ambiance. A heater is a perfect addition to that, to allow you to enjoy that fireplace for several hours. Now, let's talk about infrared heat. Okay, I'm sitting right now in my office, and I've got walls, windows, ceiling, doors, floor. So to heat my home or my office, I can heat the air. If I go and open the patio door and sit outside on my deck, and I try and heat the air, what's going to happen is, first of all, if there's any kind of breeze, it's going to take that heat and blow it away. It is the most inefficient way to heat outdoors, is to try and heat the air. It just doesn't work, okay? The only heat that actually works efficiently and effectively outdoors is infrared heat. So what is infrared heat? Infrared heat is the same heat that's generated by the sun. So, for example, it can be 20 degrees Celsius out today and cloudy. You get out there and you're like, it's kind of chilly. I'm going to go in and get a light jacket. Okay. The next day, it can actually be cooler. It can be 15 degrees Celsius, but the sun is shining, the birds are chirping. You get out there. Day before, you were cool at 20, so you're thinking, I'm going to put my jacket on right out of the gate. You get out there. After about 5 minutes, you're like, oh my God, I'm hot. Take the jacket off. What's heating you up is actually the infrared rays from the sun. So infrared is the only type of heat that works efficiently outdoors, and it is the only way that Bromic heaters work. Whether it's gas, electric, portable, or permanent, they don't heat air. They use infrared heat technology, okay? Infrared heats people and objects. That's why it's so good for outdoors. So, other images here that we've got, you can see here, we've got the top one, we've got the platinum gas heaters installed in a restaurant. We've got some other ones down below. All kinds of different options of installation to get them out of sight. Here we've got some other installations as well, commercial and residential. Recess is a very popular option, and we've now come up with what's called a low recess kit, which allows for much easier installation. You don't need this big, huge cavity that we used to need in the past to install the recess look. This is a restaurant on the top picture where they've got some gas heaters hooked up in the ceiling. And on the bottom, we've got the platinum heaters in white attached to the ceiling. These are electric. So one thing to mention is that the heaters always come with the brackets The bottom ones have a 6-inch stainless steel bracket. The top one, the valve is all contained inside the bracket. Now, sometimes you're going to need an extension pole, and you'll see that in a couple of slides a little further on, because the heaters are designed, like I said, to be used between 10 and 15 degrees Celsius, but also to be 8 to 9 feet off the ground. If you go beyond that 8 or 9 foot parameter, you're going to lose efficiency. You can lose 10, 15, 20, 30%, depending how high you're going out of that 8 to 9 foot range. So Bromic has extension poles that will allow the installer to bring it down to the recommended height. Let's talk a little bit about Platinum. So Platinum is one of the series, if you recall, when we had that slide showing all the different Bromic products. It's got a glass front, and it's very, very aesthetically pleasing. This is the gas model. It's got 5 tiles on it. We make a 300 and a 500 series. For the Canadian application, for the most part, I'm going to tell you, forget about the 300, focus on the 5. The 300 series is great if we happen to live in sunny California, Florida, or Texas. But in Canada, you know, the climate's a lot cooler, so we typically go with the 5 tile. So the Platinum always has the glass front, and it's a great look, and you can get it in electric or you can get it in gas. Here's a slide showing some installations where we've got the back-to-back. You'll notice, I'll draw your attention to above the heater, there's kind of a line. It looks like a cover. That is an accessory. It's a heat deflector. It's sold separately, and you're going to sell that to your customer 99.9% of the time. Why? Number one, it takes the clearance from the ceiling to the heater, or above the heater, from 36 inches or 3 feet to 14 inches. So it really helps with installation heights. The other thing it does is it helps to direct the infrared rays, and it also, if it's outdoors, acts as a shield to protect from the rain and snow and whatnot. Okay, this gives you a better look of installations. On the left, you've got a photo where it shows 2 heaters back to back, and on the right, and actually, if I draw your attention, you'll see there's a pole. That is not the pole that comes with it. That is the accessory, because in this particular case, the ceiling was higher, and to get it down to the 8-9 foot, we had to put an extension pole. On the right, they were able to mount it right to the wall. So again, it's seldom that Bromic will not have a solution for your customer. This is a restaurant, again, showing some of the Platinum gas heaters installed. Now we'll talk about the Tungsten series. So you're going to get different priorities for different customers, right? Again, this is where qualifying the customer becomes really important, so you can suggest the best option for them. Some people really want design. They want something clean, modern looking. You're going to sell them the Platinum series because that's what they want. Other customers are going to say to you, you know what? I like design. That's why I'm looking at Bromic, but I want the most powerful heat available that you've got. Well, the Tungsten series falls under that classification because having the glass in the front makes it a clean look, but it does impede a little bit of the infrared rays coming through. Having the screen, the rays flow a little bit more freely. They both heat beautifully, so by no means is the Platinum not an efficient and hot heater, but the Tungsten is just a little bit more, okay? There's pros and cons to both of them as well. Having the glass in the front is a benefit if you're in a really windy area because it has a higher blowout rate. So again, qualifying the customer. Do they want to use gas, but they're on a lake where there's a lot of wind? I would steer them away from the Tungsten and into the Platinum because that glass is actually going to help to keep it from blowing out as easily. So again, you don't have to remember all this stuff. Just kind of going through. I'll explain why you don't have to remember in a little bit of a teaser. Here's the Tungsten installed. Again, you can see the 3-tile one is the 300 series. By and large, forget about that for Canada. We're going to focus on selling the 5, more powerful. This is an application where they've got some of those tungstens, and actually a mixture of tungsten and Platinum if you look up on the upper deck. When it comes to commercial applications, you're not selling 2 to 4 heaters like in a residential application. You're selling, 6 to 10 heaters, sometimes 20 or 30. So the sale is significantly more when you go to commercial. And there's opportunities, huge opportunities in both commercial and residential. Again, if you talk to our competitors, They have the same challenges we do. The challenge is people don't think of outdoor heat. It's an afterthought. So that's the biggest thing that we need to address, is to put it out there, tell customers, look, we can extend your season 6 to 8 weeks. Who doesn't want to extend their season in Canada 6 to 8 weeks and enjoy the outdoors, right? So some other photos of some heaters installed. These are the gas ones. This does a comparison between the platinum and the tungsten. So you can see the glass front versus the grill on the front. Again, we're going to focus on the 500, not the 300 series. It gives you the BTU ratings. This is not information you need to kind of record in your brain. We can send you all these details. Just want to show you the two back to back. Again, in terms of cost, so people are going to say, you know, what's the benefit of gas? What's the benefit of electric? These are rough numbers, but gas heaters run about 40 cents an hour, okay? Electric is about 80 cents an hour, depending on where you live in the country. So people are going to, whoa, it's double the price. That's crazy. I'm going to go to gas. Well, hold on a minute. So we're talking per heater. In a residential application, you're using your heater 1 to 2, 3 hours a night. It's not a lot, right? It's really pennies an hour, right? The advantage of the electrical heater is that you can control the temperature from 100% to 0 if you've got the dimmer control, or on-off if you've got our on-off control. The gas, in comparison, is either on 100% or off. There's no modulation of temperature. The reason for that is because with the gas, Bromic is trying to prevent customers from reducing the pressure, which will increase the chance of it blowing up. So our heaters have the highest blowout rating, way more than our competitors. You know, you're talking 14 miles an hour on some of the heaters. And reality is, at 5, 8 miles an hour, you've already gone inside because your ball cap's blown off your head. But that's why they don't allow the gas heaters to be turned down, because they don't want to reduce that from 14 miles an hour to, let's say, 5, right? Now, we tend to sell more gas heaters in commercial applications. And the reason for that is because in a commercial application, they're running the heaters typically, 4, 5, 6 hours, because it's in a restaurant or in a hotel or in a golf course. And they don't have 2 heaters or 4 heaters. They have usually 6, 8, 10, 12, 20 heaters. So now all of a sudden, you're talking about a cost difference. That's more significant. Also, keep in mind, even though the electrical is running at roughly, call it 80 cents an hour, that's at 100%. You can turn down the electric and run it at 50% if you choose. So you can get it down to 40 cents an hour. Bottom line, customers aren't coming to Bromic and worried about the cost of running the heaters. If they're doing that, they would have bought a cheap heater from, online or at a Home Depot or a Lowe's. They're coming to Bromic for design and performance. And the cost is really, it's important, but it's secondary or way down the list. All kinds of parameters in terms of installing. So if it's gas, you need 10'4" ceiling height. You need a deflector to take it down from, 36 inches to 14 inches, the space above the heater. You don't need to remember any of this stuff. Again, I'm teasing you because I'm going to tell you a little later on in a few minutes why you don't need to remember that and what Bromic has done to make your life so easy as a salesperson. I'm just showing you the slide so you know that we have all these technical specifications available, not so much for you, but for the installers. Okay. Platinum Series Electric. Again, so glass front, just like on the Platinum Gas. Very sleek, very minimalist, very Euro, very modern looking, beautiful heater, stainless steel wrap on the back. Also available marine if you live on either the east or the west coast. This shows you some installation options. Comes with the brackets. These are installed right to the ceiling. It automatically puts it the right distance away from the ceiling with the 6-inch bracket. Here's an example where you've got 2 different installation situations. On the right, that pergola, the heater's already at that 8 to 9 foot parameter. So you don't need to drop it further. The photo on the right, different perspective, but the ceiling height is much higher. So they want to make sure that they're at that 8 to 9 foot. They bought the extension poles from Bromic, and there's different sizes. again, you don't have to worry about figuring out which size. We will help you with that to drop it down to have maximum heat efficiency. So rooftop patio with some nice platinum black heaters. Now we're going to talk about tungsten electric. Tungsten electric is our number one seller. It comes in a 2, 3, 4, and 6,000 watt option. You're going to sell the 6,000 day in, day out. And the reason I say that is it's always better to have more heat than less. You can turn it down. You can't turn it up if you bought the wrong heater and it's 2,000 watt heater and it's just not getting hot enough. Okay. The other thing to mention is that all of our heaters, all the electrical products, are 240 volts. We do not make a 110 version. Now, if you go to a local flea market or home show, you are definitely going to find the guy with a booth that has these little heaters that are 110 that are selling for $400 or $500, and you're going to walk by the booth and go, "Oh, that's nice and warm," because you're indoors and you're a foot away from the heater. You take that heater, throw it in your backyard, you're going to find that it's not really providing any heat whatsoever. You need 240. If you don't have 240, it will not work. I've got heaters that are 2 and 3, 4,000 watts that are designed for the southern warmer climates. And I can tell you at 240, the 2,000 watt heater outdoor in Canada won't keep you warm. So you can imagine a 1,500 watt 110 volt heater is definitely not going to do the job. So this is our most popular unit. Retails for about $1,300. You can match it up to a dimmer control, which will allow you to have control from 100% to 0 in all the increments in between, or an on-off control. With the on-off control, because this has got 2 elements, the electrician can wire it to have 100% 50 or off. So you can basically have the elements controlled independently, even with the on-off. This is what they look like in white in a restaurant. There's probably a dozen of more of these heaters. They also come with the brackets that automatically put it to the right distance away from the ceiling. This is the Four Seasons Hotel, where they've chosen the tungsten heaters. Again, they're looking for maximum heat. White, because they want it to blend into the ceiling. And they've decided to recess them into the ceiling. So beautiful look. Again, Bromic is extremely strong, both in residential and commercial worldwide. This shows you, again, the platinum and the tungsten electric series. Again, on the left-hand side, we have a 2300, 34, and now the new 4500. 23, unless it's an indoor application, forget about it for Canada. You're going to focus on selling the 34, and now, honestly, the 45. Again, notion is more heat, better, and you can always turn it down with the electrical. On the tungsten, we have a 2, 3, 4, and 6,000 watt heater. 90% of what you're going to sell, 6,000 for the same reason. If there is a commercial application that has voltage not of 240, but 208 or 277, the tungsten also comes in 208 and 277. So, as I mentioned before, Bromic covers soup to nuts, right? You'll be hard pressed to find an application that Bromic cannot find a solution for, okay? Which is why you want to buy Bromic. This just talks about the cost of electric, like I said, about 60 to 80 cents an hour. Again, but you can adjust that temperature and adjust the rate of the burn rate of electrical as well. This shows you, again, installation options. We don't need to worry about that. Just want to show you the schematics that we have. Let's talk controls for a little bit. So, great to have heat. You're buying heat to be comfortable. The most comfortable you will be is if you can control that heat from 100% to 0, okay? We have 2 control options. And let me preface this by saying the customer doesn't have to buy a Bromic control. The electrician can put an on-off switch on the wall. However, that's not why you're getting heat. You're getting heat to be comfortable. So, best scenario, you buy the dimmer control. Gives you ability to control from 100% down to 0 in all the increments in between. Customer's going to say, how much is that dimmer control? Mr. and Mrs. Smith, it's around $1,300. Wow. And how much is the tungsten 6,000 heater? It's $1,300. So you're telling me the heater costs as much as the control? Yes, it does. Why is that? Well, because dimmer control has a lot more technology in it. It's got a heat sink and all sorts of things that make it work the way it does. Well, I don't want to spend $1,300. Okay, well, for roughly $5, we can sell you an on-off control. And you have, on the Tungsten 6000, for example, because it's dual element, you can wire it up to have 100%, 50, and 0. On some other models, like the Platinum 3400, that's a single element. It is truly just on-off, okay? So we have options for the customer. We're not saying they have to buy a dimmer control. We're not saying they have to buy a Bromic control. The electrician can put a switch on the wall. It works, right? It's not, doesn't give you a lot of control, but it works. The advantage of using a Bromic control, and the electrician's not going to be happy to hear this, but the homeowner will, our competitors, to hook up their controls that are slightly less expensive, you've got switching and junction boxes and all kinds of spaghetti wires going everywhere. With Bromic, there's the wire coming out of the control panel, out of the fuse box, into the Bromic control, 2 wires going out to the heater. It's simple. There's not a mess of wire. It's fast and easy to install. You're going to save money on the installation by buying the Bromic heaters, which more than offsets the extra little cost that Bromic may have over competitors' controls. Okay. The other advantage is when you use a Bromic control, it actually extends the warranty on the element from 2 years to 7 years. Because the way it works is it takes the power from the panel into the control, and then the control is designed with technology to release the power slowly, gradually, to avoid having power surges and blowing those elements. Hence why we can extend the element warranty. Okay, so options and controls. More and more customers have smart homes with home automation systems, and they want to control, everything in their house, including their Bromic heaters, with their system. They may have a Lutron, Creston, Control4, etc. system. Bromic, again, has a solution for that. We sell them, or you sell them, an RS-232 adapter. Now, it has to be used with a dimmer control, not the on-off. So in that case, the customer has to buy the dimmer. And they can then control their Bromic heaters, regardless of how many they have, with their home automation system. Okay, so option is available. Tungsten portable, we talked about a little bit. Beautiful, covers a 13 by 16 foot area. If you're talking about a commercial application, think about a restaurant. If you've got a mushroom heater and they heat 2 to 3 feet, how many of those heaters do you have to have on the floor in your terrace that are taking up space that you could otherwise be using for tables that are generating income? Plus, you've got to fill tanks, probably on a daily basis. 13 by 16 foot with Bromic, you're going to replace on average 3 to 4 of the mushroom heaters with 1 Bromic heater. So more floor space, more tables, more revenue, more profit, less tanks to fill. There's really no reason to buy a mushroom heater. Delta Hotel. Hotels, it's not just restaurants. Hotels, golf courses, ski resorts, seniors' homes, valet areas use Bromic. I was at a show in Vegas in February, and almost all the hotels had 6 to 8 of the Bromic tungsten heaters in their valet area where people come and get Ubers and taxis and so on. Keep their customers comfortable. That's why you want outdoor heat. Technical information about the heater, don't need to get into that. It is dual position, so you can adjust it. This is the slide I want you to focus on. This visually, picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, this definitely is the case here. Mushroom heater on the right. You can see that the heat is going up. That big flying saucer thing on the top that's always bent because they blow over because they're not stable. What it's trying to do is the heater's trying to heat the air. The air rises, and it's trying to trap the air and as well as it can push it back down onto the people sitting below. Doesn't work very well. Comparison. Bromic on the left, infrared heat, not affected by the wind, heating people on object, it's directional, it's stable, and it covers a 13 by 16 foot area. Big difference. So you can buy mushroom heaters for $500, you can buy them for $5,000. Bromic heater, the tungsten is roughly about $2,800. But again, on average, let's say if we say a reasonable, not the super cheap, but a reasonable mushroom heater is $1,000, you're going to need 4 of them to to give you anywhere near the heat that one Bromic heater is going to give you. So think about that. The customer says, $2,800. Wait a second, that's a lot of money. Actually, it's half of what you're going to spend to heat the same area with four mushroom heaters. So, this is the Eclipse series that you first saw on the slide. You would never guess that's a heater if I didn't tell you, because it did such a beautiful job on designing the lights. A little bit more here I want to show you. They come with 5 installation options. It comes with the center one that's got the orange line above it. But there's 5 other options in terms of installation. We've got the bistro style pole. We've got a longer, shorter pole. These are all accessories, 8-inch, 24-inch pole, so on and so forth. Customer says, I want the bistro pole. Fantastic. What do I do with the pole that came with it? Sorry, can't give you credit for that. It's just the way it comes. Here's a beautiful shot. That's got ceramic glass. It's got an LED light in it. This shows you the remote control. The remote control allows you to control the heat 100%, 66, and 33, and the light at 100% and 50. This is an application on the left where they purchased the accessory of the bistro pole to give it a nice look in this outdoor patio. On the right, it's a senior's home. Again, not just restaurants and, hotels and residential homes, golf courses, have patios. Seniors' homes. Seniors are typically always cold. In this case, they put in 4 of the Eclipse heaters above the dining table to keep the patrons warm. But they also bought, additionally, 2 portables that they can move around, so that if Mr. and Mrs. Jones at one end of the table is feeling a little cooler today, they can put the heater right next to them. So supplemental heat. This is single-handedly the biggest advantage that you will have selling Bromic products over anybody else. Okay, I can sit here and talk to you about ceiling heights and length and width and what you need to install gas and blah, blah, blah. You're not going to remember any of that stuff. And you don't need to. When I first started selling Bromic, I'll be honest, I was a little overwhelmed or intimidated, not overwhelmed, because I thought, my God, I'm going to have to know that, to install gas, I need 10'4". I have to sell them a, heat deflector so that it reduces the clearance from the ceiling to the top of the gas heater from 36 inches to 14. A tungsten 6000 is a 25 amp breaker. How am I going to remember all this? I'm not an electrician. Good news is I didn't have to. I was told just rely on Bromic's free heat plan design service. And honestly, it takes all the guesswork out of it. So without any further ado, here's an actual heat plan that Bromic created for a customer in Quebec. So the document I'm going to show you in the next couple of slides is actually what you're going to receive that you can send to your customer free of charge. So ask for name, email, address, phone number of the customer, because the heat plan is designed for that customer. It's not just a generic heat plan. So we want to address it to that customer. In this case, Marie-André in Quebec. Okay? Marie-André, La France, sorry. Marie-André contacted Bromic and put an extension on her house, wanted to heat. She's got a fireplace, if you look in the background there, with a couch and what looks to be a dining table in the front, in the forefront. She wanted to be able to sit outside and extend her patio. She spent all this money putting the addition on. Now she wants to actually use it. So sent us a picture, told us a little bit about what she's looking for. Bromic did a heat plan, came back and said in her particular application, they recommend the most powerful heater, the tungsten 6000, her choice, black or white. And they have a picture, two pictures actually, the one on the right that shows the heaters attached to the house, to the wall of the house, facing forward and out. Or in her case, may not have been the same as somebody else's configuration, but in her case, she could also mount heaters on left and right of that addition, right? So Bromic did that. They took into consideration, based on the photo that she provided, not only what recommended heaters and how many, but installation options. Took the guesswork out of it. Then it shows what the customer probably single-handedly wants to know the most. What's the heat bloom on this, right? So depending on the heater, it shows you the heat bloom of what area it's actually going to cover per heater. Again, customer wants to know that. This shows accessories. So if she wanted to recess it into the ceiling, in her case, it's not required, but that would have been an accessory she could have. If she had to drop down the heaters from the ceiling, because it's a vaulted ceiling, depending on where she was going to put them, she would have had options for poles. If she wants to just go with the basic control, they recommend that. If she wants to go with the dimmer control, because she really wants to have maximum comfort, then the option is she can buy a dimmer control. If she's got a home automation system and she wants to configure that, then she'd buy the dimmer control with combining that with the RS-232 plugin. All the installation options and accessories are listed on this slide for her. Again, customized to her particular application. Then the pièce de résistance, which is the final bill of materials. So this is really important for you because you're getting part number, description, in this case, tungsten 6000 electric, 220, 240 in black. How many units? They recommended 2. How many amps? 25 amps each. 25 amps each, 1 per heater. Total of 50 amps. With this, you will then take this whole document and you will attach your quote and send that to your customer. So just imagine you're the customer. Okay? In about 5 to 7 days, plus or minus, depending how busy the season is, you're not just going to get somebody who says, yeah, we recommend you buy some of these Bromic heaters. We're actually going to give you a document that has what heaters, what options, how to install them, where to install them, how many you need, what accessories are available to you, and combined with a price. So that's the most professional way to sell the product. I can tell you that almost 90% of our heat plans that we generate end in a sale, exactly for that reason. You're investing time and effort, Bromic is, and you are, into the customer. That's the single best way to close a sale. Commercial side, we've got a commercial and a residential division that designs heat plans. The commercial ones obviously are much more intricate because we're not talking 2 to 4 heaters. We're talking 6 to 10 or 20 or more. So we work with architects, designers, building plans, and we've got a separate division that's all they do. So that's the name of their game. They understand how to do heat plans for big projects. This is some slides. Here you can see here some installations in commercial settings, different installation options here. This is in a stadium. This is a restaurant chain, I believe in California, called Umami Burger. And they've got, over a dozen heaters. That heat plan was done by the Bromic design team on the commercial side. Kona Grill, same thing. We got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 gas heaters that were tungsten gas heaters that were recommended for this particular design plan. MGM Resorts, high profile. Bromic can do your residential home, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they can do the MGM. They've done the MGM Resorts, in Vegas. Here, the designers at Bromic on the commercial team, for whatever reason, their expertise, put the heaters on an angle. Again, taking into account that specific application, they felt that that was the best way to mount the heaters to give you proper coverage and envelop the seating area. Me personally, I would probably go with a tungsten 6000 electric. Mm-hmm. I don't have the height to put gas, that's one. So that kind of, limits me to electric right away. And my wife is often cold. So, for me, I'd go for the heater that gives the most heat. In another application, somebody might have a really fancy backyard. And for them, aesthetics is what really matters. So they might go with the platinum, right? It's just really a question of preference, right? It's like, so do you prefer a Ferrari or a Lamborghini? One, because the company's been around for a long time. They service their customers. You display the product, you support the product, and you've got staff that, again, takes the time to learn about the product. And they're responsive. You're advocates for your customers. I enjoy the interaction of dealing with everybody there. It's nice to work with you. Quality and design, I think. When I walk into your showroom, I think you've got selection, quality, and design. That's kind of what comes to mind when I walk into the showroom.